Nicola Bulley in Lancaster has not been found as yet, and clearly, ideally, Nicole will be found alive and well. But I do think it's most likely that Nicole ended up in the River Wyre, and a lot of people don't seem to realise that this river is dangerous and it's notorious. And in the River Wyre and in the nearby River Derwent, I think it's called, people's remains are really hard to find, and people go missing and might only be found many weeks or months later. It's the nature of these rivers. And sometimes, I'm sure a lot of people that are commenting, yeah, maybe they are Bear Grylls and maybe they are adventurers or outdoorsy people, but sometimes I feel like it's people that just surely do not leave their kitchen, who comment, who don't seem to understand the difficulty, even someone as youthful and fit as Nicole was, how difficult it would be for her to get out of that river. Where that bench is, there is a slope, a skiddy slope, goes down to where it drops off, because you can see in the footage with the searchers looking across from the opposite bank, you can see the drop. It's over a person's height from that edge of the bank straight down into the river, and it would have been a shock to hit the water. Now people are saying, why didn't she have her phone in her hand or in her pocket or something, because she's on this conference call? When you're using an earbud, which I do believe Nicole was, you've got a range of 10 meters, 33 feet, okay, where it ideally works within a couple of feet, so, in a pocket, handheld, in your handbag, whatever. But there is a range of 10 meters, and I was thinking, if she was falling in, if she fell in, would she have been able to unmute and talk to the conference call? But she probably wouldn't have had a chance at all, and she would have just been trying to get upright. I'm thinking that her shoes, they look to be quite a sort of trendy but high quality outdoorsy boot, and they're probably designed to stay on your feet, so they may not have come off in the mud. And disarticulation can happen. We know that with Melissa Caddick's case, but that could be after a period of time in the water. I don't know why a hat isn't found, but all these things could be snagged on something or stuck in the mud. And, a big clue is her dog, because thinking about carnivore dog, right? And in various situations I've been in and everything, I know he is sticking around. If I was taken away in a car or dragged away somehow, he would, with his nose, follow to as close as he could get to me as possible. So yeah, he would have been running down the road or something, sniffing around, and maybe running back to where the abduction site was, running back and forth, but he'd be going absolutely bonkers trying to get closer. And Nicole's dog, Willow, was at the bench and maybe just running back to the, this top field gate or something, because she saw someone, hopefully thinking it was Nicole, or just running up and trying to get attention and then just running back to the bench. And I think that just nearly says everything. So when people are questioning still, her phone was on the bench. That looks staged. Why would she have her phone down on the bench when she's on a call? It would have to be in her hand or her pocket, or, you know, but using an earbud, she was using an earbud so that, yeah, you don't need to be holding your phone. She's just placed it down on the bench, perhaps. You know, she might have been going down the bank to try and get Willow to listen to her, to get away from the edge. And she could have been knocked in. I mean, I've thought most of the time I've had a dog that, or, you know, or even pets, you know, man, they get under your feet. I've thought often, oh shit, I mean, this is how I'm going to go. I'm going to be, I will be tripped up by my dog, and I will fall down a flight of stairs or fall in somewhere. They just do things. They don't have that same spatial awareness of, you know, safe, regarding safety. Okay, and it is a dreadful, dreadful thought, because there's a family that are desperate and so fearful, and they just want their wife, their mum, their sister, their daughter back. And to think of someone having such an awful death as to drown in a river that way, you know, you want to think, look, she's just snapped, she's had to go for some time out, and when, you know, being in such a state of distress, you know, she hasn't been thinking of the stress this is going to cause her family, because she just thinks that she's not coping, and it's worse for them if she's around or something like that. Sure, but it's not like the police aren't investigating that type of thing. They will be looking for cameras in and out. They are asking for dash cam footage to be sent in. They are investigating other avenues. But you know, we have to be logical. And as unbelievable as it seems to some people, you know, it's just accepting that there's a lot of precedence for drowning and for somebody dying in such a manner, if that's what has happened to Nicole. And it is right that so many resources are put into it, into that angle of the search. It is a kind of shame that, you know, the bench in that area wasn't cordoned off and everything. There's been a lot of people there. But, you know, for the web sleuthers, you know, these people that like to investigate things and everything, there's going to be all this weight that they're going to put on all the minutiae of Nicole's life. They'll be looking to find anything, and then they will be putting disproportionate weight on things. So often in cases, most of the things to do with someone's life is absolutely nothing to do with what has happened to them. And, you know, Nicole Bully was getting out of a business partnership, and I think that was to be signed off on December the 7th. So now everyone of a certain style of sleuthing, what they're now saying is it's all to do with this dissolution of the business partner, and she wasn't posting anything after that date, and it's something to do with that. And, you know, next they'll be saying that this other person has, you know, abducted her, or, you know, there's some sort of reason to do with this person behind it all. Look, someone could be under the most exorbitant stress and have a lot of issues where one might nearly think it reasonable if they were to, say, take their own life, or if someone would, you know, it doesn't mean that they would. It doesn't mean that accidents don't happen. just like when marriages are really sour and things aren't going well and people are having affairs, it doesn't rule out the fact that someone might be abducted off a highway or from their home, right? These things can happen in conjunction with each other, okay? They're not exclusionary or whatever. You know, I know that this must be agony. But just that particular stretch of river, I mean, that river has so many different attributes, different personalities in it, all in this one little river. And that particular, just that very particular spot where Nicole's things were found. Okay, so sure, that might be a good place to plant it. But it's also a very, if something was going to happen to someone on that river in St. Michael's Fields, it's there. It's right there. There are other pockets of that river where you can just wade in, and it is very shallow, and you go in through a little beach, and I think that's up near the top field, right? But where Nicole was, you can see with your own eyes just how treacherous it is. And you've got to realize too, with the time frame, right? At the turning of tide, so the tide comes in and it goes out, and tides come in every 12, every 12 hours there's a change of tide, and it slowly changes over time. So the tide in gets later and later, and the tide out gets later and later. And, there's a cycle, and it's based on the moon, right? And we all know this, but, some people don't realize things like this. Anyway, so they think if the water isn't running, then, well, what does that mean? Tidal, look, it barely runs. What it means is there are times at the turning of the tide when water runs very fast out. Every 24 hours or so, slightly different, it's running fast out to sea. So someone that's been in and taken under, if they weren't grabbed immediately or taken out immediately, we don't know when that tide turn occurred. I might look it up and I'll tell you. And that's just going to, put such a force, okay, on all things in that river. And, it is a possibility that poor, Nicole Bully, if she went in the river, that she will end up out in Morecambe Bay or in the Irish Sea. It's a possibility. So, let's just send Godspeed to the searchers, to the police to resolve it. And if Nicole is in that river, let's hope that she is found very soon. She may never be found, but I hope that with this other team there, SGI, because what they're doing too, because the weir, there's a weir, okay, WEIR, similar to what you see, carnivore dog, or sometimes, well, years ago I filmed him sort of when he was younger, walking across the weir and jumping off into the deep pool that's on the other side of it. But the weirs are there. That's where the tide comes up to, and it goes past that. It's beyond that bench. It's inland from that bench. That part of the river is still very tidal. And then where the weir is, they're searching actually in that area as well now, just to be certain, because the police have done quite a thorough search from the bench area and out to sea. Well, I don't know, hopefully out as far as the coast. Teams are just going to have to keep looking until she's found. But they're searching up above the weir for a couple of days. Hopefully then, and if Nicole's not found, they will stay and keep donating their services to searching on the tidal side of the weir, and there is some resolution anyway. So yeah, I've just been thinking about that whole earbud issue. You know, how quickly could she unmute and call for help, something like that. But you know, she may not have even gotten a chance to call out. What, you know, she could have hit that water very awkwardly, snapped her neck. And sorry, I know I talk about things so flippantly, things that are quite morbid, I know that, but I mean, it's a discussion. I want to discuss things, and I don't believe in censorship, even though I am grossly censored on this channel. But anyway, I'll see you later, and I just wanted to give you those further thoughts.